Today is Thursday, September 29th, 2011, and I'm Oliver Thornton, sitting here with Mr. Joe Turner, Associate Director of Student Affairs and Residential Life. All right, how are you doing today, Mr. Turner?
Great. I'm doing great.
All right, I'm going to ask you a few questions about the IAH group. So what was your path to the Indiana Academy?
Okay. Well, originally I grew up in Illinois, and so I didn't even know about the Indiana Academy. Illinois had an academy, though, the Illinois Math Science Academy. And I did know some people from my high school that went there, but it was in its early days because when I was in high school, it was a long time ago, we'll just say that. And so the Illinois Academy had just started. And so I'd heard of it in that way, but didn't give it much thought while I was in high school. Went to college at Western Illinois University, and I was a RA, or resident assistant, while I was there. So I started learning about student affairs and residential life and things like that. And after I graduated, I didn't have any intent of going into student affairs. I thought I wanted a business type job. I wanted to, work in corporate America. So I moved to Chicago, lived just the suburbs of Chicago, western suburbs. Had a job there as a communications consultant, which was essentially kind of a sales type position, just to get my foot in the door, and really learned pretty quickly that that was not what I wanted to do. It just wasn't the right field for me, but I knew that student affairs and residential life always had an annual conference for jobs for people that wanted to work in student affairs. It was in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. So I had worked in Chicago maybe a year and a half or so and decided to go to this conference. Went there, interviewed at a lot of different places, and learned about the Indiana Academy and that they had positions open. So I interviewed there. I met Dr. Barton at the conference. Interviewed there. Ended up getting a position as a student life counselor, although at the time they were called resident counselors. So I took that job, and I've been here ever since. I was residence counselor, student life counselor. I did that for 3 school years. And the school, when I got here in the fall of '97. And so the school was very young at that time. So they I guess, had 6 or 7 school years in by then. But the residential part was still developing and still growing. And the current position I'm in, there was nobody in this position. It didn't exist. But my 3rd year as a student life counselor, the administration at the time decided they needed a position like this that would directly supervise the staff more closely and would be in charge of basically the facility and things like that. So this would have been 2000, summer of 2000, I interviewed for this position that they had created, and got this position, and then have had it ever since. So I've been here for a while and have got to see a lot of things, but that's kind of my path. That's how I ended up here anyway.
All right.
Okay.
Which aspects of your work at the Academy have had the greatest meaning for you?
I think it's changed over time. I think originally, when I was a student life counselor or resident counselor, I think the biggest impact on me was seeing students come in as juniors, not knowing kind of what they're getting into, and kind of having the first day of, oh my gosh, I'm away from home, what's this going to be like? Getting to see the student at that point, and then getting to see them walk across the stage at graduation, that probably had the biggest impact on me, understanding what a difference this opportunity can have, or this opportunity can have so many different meanings for everybody, and what it can really do to impact their life. And thinking, oh my gosh, I remember, this student, when he came in, he was so scared and didn't know if he could do it and wanted to leave after the 2nd week, but now look at all these things that he's done. And it just made me feel very, very proud every year that I would see students graduate. Like, oh my gosh, like, what are they going to be doing, in 5 years, 10 years? Where are they going to college? What if they didn't have this opportunity? What would they be doing? So I think initially, when I was an SLC, that really meant a lot to me, to be able to be very, very proud of, what the school could offer, to students. And then it's kind of changed now that I'm in this role. for the last 10 years or so, it's changed a little bit in the sense that I still have that feeling of the school does really, really good things and it's a great opportunity for students. But I have on top of that a really neat opportunity to hire and train and work with all the student life counselors. And that's just a different type of opportunity for me because most of them are young professionals or the first year professionals. And I get to try to teach them a lot of things. And I really enjoy that role of being able to teach them and kind of develop the program into a program that I think is the best for the students. And so over time it's changed a little bit, but overall, I don't really see myself working anywhere else. I mean, I love this school. I think what it offers to students and young professionals, and of course we've got a great faculty that I think they wouldn't want to teach anywhere else either. So we just, it's a really great work environment, as an employee. But I think, that's also mirrored with the opportunity that the students have. I think they believe it's a good opportunity too, and a good environment to go to school in. So I think that's kind of a long way of saying, I couldn't be prouder of where I work and the work that I get to do with people. So.
All right. What do you wish you had known about the Academy before you began your work here?
That's a really tough question. I feel like I kind of jumped in without a lot of information, just in general, because I wasn't that familiar with residential high schools. Like I mentioned earlier, I knew that Illinois had an academy when I was in high school, but it was new and it just wasn't part of the culture yet because it was just so new. And so when I heard about the Indiana Academy, and that there might be opportunities to come work here, I was very curious, and I'm someone that I like change if it's for the right reason, not like change just for the sake of changing. But I do I like change for the sake of progress and to better people's lives. And I saw that opportunity here, but what do I wish I would have known? I probably wish I would have known a little bit more about just in general what I was getting into, because the student life counselors, well, at least in what my experience was, they work very hard. They work a lot of behind the scenes stuff where if you're just a typical student that goes through the academy day to day and you don't have problems with things that going on at home, or you were never homesick, or all the things that that might come up that are a little bit negative or hard to deal with. I didn't understand that that's what the majority of my job was going to be. I kind of went into it thinking, well, this would be great. Like, I can get to spend time with students, help them be successful just by monitoring the floor and doing some basic day-to-day things. But I didn't have a good understanding of all the things that they would be doing behind the scenes to really genuinely help families and students stay connected while they're here, get through some tough things. I didn't understand that. Once I knew it was part of the job, I really liked it, but I wish I would have known that going in because it really kind of blindsided me. And so I had to go through a lot of training and just adjusting to, okay, now I understand what the job is, but that's not what I expected it to be. So I wish I would have known that, but had I known it, it probably would have just made me more excited about the job. I think if I would have fully understood all the things we were going to do. So it wouldn't have discouraged me had I known it. It just would have been a bigger challenge, and I probably would have jumped at it even quicker than I did. So.
All right. How does the social dynamic of the academy workplace compare to that of your previous workplace?
I've worked several other part-time jobs or summer jobs. The only other professional job I had was right out of college, where I went and was the consultant up outside of Chicago. And with that job, I wouldn't say I don't know how to describe it other than it was just a colder environment because it was all business, and there wasn't as much of the personal getting to know people and trying to help them, become better at their job, or there wasn't any of that. It was just basically, you show up at this time, you do your work, and you leave at this time. So for me, the dynamic is incredibly different. But I think it's mainly because of the types of jobs I've had. This job is incredibly social in the sense that I really have to get to know the staff, and we have to be able to be connected at a certain level so we can work well together as a team. In my other job, it just wasn't that. You were just kind of on your own. So for me, there's a dramatic difference, but that probably wouldn't be everybody's experience. I think that's pretty unique to what I ended up doing.
How do you think having worked at the academy will affect your future?
Um, well, I see working at the academy affecting my future only in positive ways. I know, we're going to be, we just passed the 20 year and we're coming up on the 25th that we're starting to plan, and everybody seems very excited about that. One thing that I do think about pretty often whenever I'm recruiting new staff, new SLCs, when the academy's 100 years old, they're going to look back and say, well, who were the people that went to school at the academy, and who were the people that ran the academy for those first 20, 25 years? Because that really those are the years that you look at when you're looking at any institution. You want to know, well, who was there in the beginning? Who was there for the first 25 years that then started all these traditions or started these trends or created these different ways of educating students? Who did that? And all of us, you're part of that, I'm part of that, I like thinking about that. That in 100 years, I hope that the academy's doing even better than it is now, and that when people look at it, they're like, wow, those people that went to school there, those were the people that were brave enough to go to a school that's young and didn't maybe know everything about what it was about, and those are the people that took those jobs at that school that it wasn't very old, and some of the people that were the original people to work here, like Dr. Barton and a few others. They came in, there was no school that existed, and they had to just say, well, we'll try this, and so I think that's really neat. And how it will affect my future is I hope that I'm part of the school for a really, really long time, I hope that I can be in this position or other positions where I can continue to work at the school. I don't see other schools that can even compare to what I get a chance to do here. So affecting my future is only positive, and really getting to think about new programs because the school is so young, and I got to be part of the school when I was fairly young. So I was a very new professional person. Even though this is my 15th year here, and I just can't imagine being anywhere else for the future. And if I am anywhere else, I know this has prepared me for a lot of different things, a wide variety of things. From early when I was working directly with students to training staff now, and managing a facility. I couldn't be better prepared to work anywhere else, but I just don't want to, and so only really positive ways, will impact me, I think. But this also, I think, not only is a great opportunity for students, but it's just a great opportunity to be able to work at a place like this. So yeah, that's the answer.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. It was very informative. I can't
Yeah.
wait to schedule a second interview.
Yeah. Well, so the questions, the second interview, those are going to be more